It started because you had a little tweet dust up with some internal people at CNN on whether they were over-covering January 6th compared to the Capitol Hill baseball field shooting, which had taken place in 2017. You were kind of saying, you know, we moved on from the shooting of the Republicans, the attempted and actual shooting of the Republicans really quickly.
Yes.
And not so much on January 6th.
Yeah, the political violence double standard is one that really sticks in my old craw. And so I bring it up every now and then. And I tweeted something, what I thought was calm and factual about our coverage. I know that it's dicey to do that when you're at a media outlet. A colleague of mine came back at me about it, and we had an argument about it that got like medium heated, I would say. Because I think, look, it's my job to comment on media coverage on national stories. And sometimes that is going to fall afoul of the organization you're working for. That's always going to be a weird situation. So I try to keep it above board. In that discussion, I brought up Toobin. Toobin was still an employee of the network. This is under the Zucker regime, not the new one. And that was deemed not appropriate. I didn't know this because no one told me. Now, I knew that that was possible, that was not appropriate under the rules of sort of avoiding shooting inside the tent. However, I rejected the idea that I have to stay silent about this obviously egregious conduct and just move on, right? If you're going to fact check me, if we're going to have this argument, I've got some other issues you could talk about, right? Like, the idea that female colleagues are asked to be quiet about that particular thing, I don't buy it. And I will take the punishment. I would prefer to be told about the punishment.
Wait, but before we get to the silent suspension, which is just so weird, it's like no balls, okay? They knew what they were doing was wrong, and they didn't have the balls to tell you. It's ironic because we're talking a lot about men genitalia in this little segment. But in any event, before the quiet suspension, the Twitter dust up, you were trying to say, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were having this argument with this guy, Andrew Kaczynski, who's at CNN, who was ripping on you saying, you did cover, and CNN, using you, did cover the Capitol Hill shooting of the Republicans. You know, you were there. And you were like, yeah, and therefore I can tell you that we covered it and we moved on within 48 hours. And he was kind of needling you. And you were making the point, you said, do you need the rest of my itinerary from that day and the day after, which again, were basically the only days this was a national story, which was my point. And then you said, got jack to say about Cuomo and Toobin, but got to fact check me when he's got nothing. One jacked off in front of female colleagues, and one violated every conflict of interest rule in journalism, referring to Chris Cuomo, lied about it and got fired. But I'm the issue because I think the congressional baseball shooting was covered too lightly and taxes are too high? Sure, dude, which was pretty brilliant. And so point well taken. You're basically saying, how do I get attacked for saying something about Toobin? And I don't remember you out there saying, why did Toobin jerk off in front of all his colleagues or Cuomo?
I'm the problem. For making this calm observation about coverage that I was involved with. And we did, I mean, truly, people will tell you in media that like Giffords and the congressional baseball shooting, which are fairly analogous, were covered the same way. It's not true. It is not true. And I know because I was a block and a half from the baseball field where I lived when the killer, it turns out, or the attempted murderer, camped out in my neighborhood for a month looking for people of my ideology to kill. And then he attempts it. And within 48 hours, those news vans were out of there, man. And you can't give me the excuse that, it was far flung from all the major media outlets. We're 6 miles away. We are 6 miles away. And it was not as big a deal because some forms of political violence are not as big a deal. That is just how it's covered.
This is the point you were trying to make, totally legitimate. You got attacked. You got attacked first internally by a colleague. So you were first just taking issue with the amount of coverage at CNN. Then a CNN colleague attacked you, saying you're wrong, basically. And then you said, you got a lot to say about me, but you didn't say so much about Toobin or Cuomo. So silent, right? Silence is deafening. So then how many months go by that we now know were intentionally, suddenly, you You were disappeared.
It was
like mommy dearest, if she doesn't like you, she can make you disappear.
It was until July. So that's 7. It was beginning of January till July. So it's about 7 months to Toobin's 8 months. And
so you got a 7-month suspension for making a comment about Jeffrey Toobin, and Jeffrey Toobin, he got an 8-month suspension for actually Toobining.
Yes. So you will see what led me to want to talk about this, because I thought to myself, is this formulated to tick me off as much as possible? And you have a couple options here. Look, Zucker's gone, Toobin's gone, or he was gone several weeks after I was informed of this. I could let it lie. My options are I'm under contract. I could go back and do my job with a smile on my face. That didn't feel right. I could negotiate myself out of it quietly. Also, the quiet part doesn't work for me. Or 3, I could not be quiet. I could tell the truth because I think it's the right thing to do. And by the way, someday when my children are old enough to hear this story, which must be censored for them, I have 3 daughters. Like that's how terrible the story is. One day when I can tell them, I can't tell them that I shut up about it. Because this was the reason given to me that in this dust up, the mentioning of Toobin required a breather. I was not informed of the breather. This all happened under the old regime, but then I was told, just come back. I said to myself, look, I can't pretend that nothing happened. So here's what happened. And did we not learn during Me Too that institutional silence and women's silence about these kind of things perpetuates these kind of things?
Mm-hmm.
And again, one more thing, which I told, like, I'm a real say it to your face kind of person. I could have, like, I guess the media thing would be like leak it to an outlet anonymously. Like, this is what happened to me. I just say things from me. So I told them this, which is, as a woman in media, I have been asked to comment on every errant penis in the media industry. And there were so many for the past 5 years, sometimes to the exclusion of all the other things I'd like to talk about, like tax policy, health policy, I don't know, foreign policy. And yet I do it because it's the right thing to do, even though it can be a little humiliating to be on TV talking about nothing but errant penises of your colleagues.
The indignity. I
reject that this is the one penis that I'm not allowed to talk about. I reject it.
That penis is fair game.
It has to be done.
You are not the one who unleashed it on the Zoom. It was out there for the discussion.
By the way, and you made this point at the time, and this is what it gets to me. I wouldn't have been rehabilitated from something like this. I would have, I would have been relocated to an OnlyFans page, but like, I would not have a career after that. We all know that.
Hell no. Literally think about it. Forgive me for going X-rated, but picture this. If a woman dropped trow and her underwear and started masturbating on a Zoom call for the New Yorker, she would never work again in the news business, ever. If you just had to sit there watching her pleasure herself, she would never, ever be taken seriously, certainly not in his job. I said this at the time, like maybe like if you're the entertainment correspondent, I don't, maybe there's a way back. Maybe. Not as the guy who analyzes the Supreme Court. No.
And I can't shut up about that particular thing. And further, I was informed that I wasn't informed because I was on a maternity leave and they wanted me to like be with my baby, and that somebody
7 months. They have good policy.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing. So how did you not know you were suspended, right? Because I think the audience might be like, what do you mean? Like, didn't you know? That's a long time not.
Yeah, no. I of course had suspicions. I just wasn't told that this was a disciplinary action until after it was over.
Well, and in TV, when you're a contributor and they're not calling you, you never know why. You could think like, oh, they've soured on me. Suddenly I'm no good.
They have the prerogative to not call me, but you could like call me and break up with me or something, or tell me why.
Because it's not like you were doing a daily show every day.
What are we doing?
Right. You didn't swipe on me. So it's not like you were doing a daily show. You were a contributor. So it's sort of at their pleasure that you get on the air day to day. And so after month after month after month, suddenly you're like, it's been a long time. What's going on? So then how did you find out? How did they reveal to you that you had been turfed all that time?
Someone called me to tell me, sort of in like management or what have you. And I was taken aback, Megyn, by this, because I know, look, we work in live TV. You're going to say stuff. We all are on Twitter. You're going to
I don't know what that's
stuff,
like.
Right?
I don't
Like,
know what
so you just,
referring to.
I can take my lumps, but you have to tell me about it. Right. And I might argue with you about whether I should say the thing or whether I should have had the argument. Just tell me about it.
Bon Charge is a holistic wellness brand with a huge range of evidence-based products to optimize your life in every way. Founded on science and inspired by nature, all Bon Charge products adopt ancestral ways of living in our modern-day world. From blue light glasses to red light therapy to EMF management and circadian-friendly lighting, Bon Charge products help you naturally address the issues of our modern-day way of life effortlessly. All right, now listen, I want to show you the pair that I wear when I am working on my computer and sometimes my iPhone. Look at these. Aren't these cute? I like these. They're so cute. You can get like stylish, where you have like, these have the tortoise shell. I kind of like them. They're kind of saucy. Makes me feel like Bono. They come in non-prescription, prescription, and reading options. And Bon Charge also has other amazing products like low blue light bulbs, red light therapy devices, EMF, 5G protection, and 100% blackout sleep masks, all backed by science. They can ship worldwide in rapid time, and most importantly, they have easy returns and exchanges. In addition to these, I wear an orange pair when I'm watching TV, and it just seems like too bright. Sometimes it bothers my eyes. I got my kids wearing them. Doug wears them. I love these guys. They actually have great options. So check it out for yourself. Bon Charge, B-O-N, charge, CHARGE.com/MK, and use that coupon code MK to save 20%. Don't forget, boncharge.com/MK. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.